Hi, my name's Linda Nelson, for those of you who don't know me. For those that do, um, and for those that don't, I hope you enjoy this little video. It's not going to be too long, but the idea for me is to write a book about stories I love to write, and I love to write about my childhood and things that I've overcome. And I hope you find some strength in them. And eventually, I would like to compile them all to a book. If you are interested in getting that, it'll probably take me a good year, I think, to put them together. And I have already written one about my mom's stories. If you want to know about that, just write me. I'll let you know, and I'll let you know where you can buy it on Amazon and the title. Um, so it's called Judith Valentine, A Lifetime of Memories. And this one I don't have a name for, but I wanted to give you all a preview of some of my stories, so I'll be periodically uploading these from time to time. And so welcome, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my stories. This first one is about being all you can be. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a doctor. Actually, I wanted to be a brain surgeon. It was my dream. And back then, I was probably about 4 years old. Little girls didn't grow up to become doctors back then. There were very few and far between, and I had never seen any. Of course, I was young or knew any. But it's what I wanted to do. I was fascinated by medicine. I was fascinated by doctors who had the ability to help people heal. Um, I loved science. So I was lucky that I had a mom that taught me I could be anything I wanted to be. And I remember going to the hospital to get my tonsils out. And while we were there, there was, of all things, a male nurse and a female doctor. That was kind of unheard of and probably cutting edge of the beginning of when doctors started to become doctors, and it didn't matter whether they were women or men. So um, my mom made sure to point that out to me and remind me that I could be anything I wanted to be, and I didn't have to listen to people who tried to discourage me. So she started helping me prepare for medical school at an early age. When I got to high school, I took um, classes that would help support me getting into a medical college. Um, they wouldn't have been able to afford to send me to college, so she stressed to me the importance of how I would have to work hard to get good grades to help get a scholarship. Um, as is often the case, my life took a different turn, and I did not become a doctor. But my mom's message of doing anything I wanted and anything I set my mind to do lived on in me. In addition to my mom, my great aunt May, who came over every year with my great aunt Ethel and my great grandmother Daisy, and occasionally she would bring their sister, my great aunt Naomi, to visit us in the summertime. My grandmothers in my life were women that were strong, and they were full of encouragement, and they did believe that a woman could do anything she set her mind to. My Aunt May was instrumental in reinforcing that idea that my mom had already planted in my head about doing anything I wanted to do. So the story actually isn't about me becoming a doctor. This isn't what happened. Although I have fostered a love of biology, anatomy, science, and anything science related, I love it. Even physics, if it goes over my head, I still love it. I want to learn. One time, I got to visit the Fermi National Accelerator Lab in Illinois. That was such a highlight. I was a grown woman, of course, um, and it was just one of the most amazing places I have ever been to. I got a I don't know if you want to call it a stage, but kind of a background of it by someone who worked there and contracted there. And so I got to see even the stage that was underneath where they would give speeches, and there was a stage underneath, like it was a little basement area under that. And I got to see the labs. I didn't get to go into the radiation labs, but I got to see them. I got to see the accelerators and walk through that room and see how they worked and had that explained to me. Um, It was just really cool. So I would encourage anybody to go take a look at that if you ever get the opportunity, because it's priceless, especially if you love science. So the story is more about me being able to pursue my dreams that I held throughout my life, and in making them happen. Because of such strong, encouraging women in my life, I learned not to take no for an answer. Well, I don't know how I learned it, but my mom just kind of instilled it in me somehow, even though it frustrated her because, you want your kids to listen. And I was always so curious. I wanted to know why. And I don't think that's so unusual, but she always encouraged that curiosity. So I did become a meat cutter by trade. That is was a male orientated profession. There were very few women meat cutters at the time. I could tell you about the discrimination I faced just by being a woman who wanted to learn to cut meat. But that's a much longer story. There were very few women meat cutters, as I said, in those days. The supervisors tried to discourage me. One supervisor in particular kept telling me, I know you want to be a meat cutter, but this is not good. It's not good for your body. You're not built for it. I want to discourage you. He didn't outright say no, but he said at this time, he said, it's just not a good job for a woman. Well, me being me and not wanting to take no for an answer, I kept at it. So the meat cutter, I was a meat wrapper at the time. The meat cutters would go off to lunch and I would stay back. And unbeknownst to them, I would, unbeknownst to them, I would stay back and I would go through and go to my cooler because the loads usually came in by the time they went to lunch and they'd come back and do it. Well, I started lifting 80-pound boxes and putting them on the shelves and putting them away. And one of the things that helped me and my determination was I went and took lifting classes with somebody at the gym. I hired a coach. So that really helped me, and I could lift those boxes. And pretty soon, I was lifting them very easy. And I was also coming in early and cutting a few things to get the case ready so there would be stuff up and ready. I'd come in an hour before the cutters came in and have that ready. So they'd walk in and there'd be like, they'd kind of shake their heads because they didn't have as much to do as they thought they might. It was quite an interesting journey. And eventually the supervisor came back in and I said, do you want to tell me now why I can't cut meat? Because I've been back there throwing loads and I've been cutting this thing and that thing. And he didn't say much, but he kind of thought about it. And next thing I know, his boss, had come in and I told him about how I wanted to be a meat cutter and go through the apprenticeship program. He talked to the supervisor. Next thing I know, I'm enrolled in the meat cutter apprentice program, which lasted at that time 2 years. I had to go to school a couple times a week at night. And then there were people that didn't want to train me because I was a woman. There was these older guys that had been in the business for a long time. They're like, I'm not training you. So a lot of it I had to learn on the fly and teach myself, watch them carefully. Eventually I retired as a meat manager and I could cut meat faster than most other cutters that ever even came in my shop. So it's been a source of pride for me that I was able to do that. Shortly after that, I went to work at a different company, and I slowly worked my way up. I had a dream, and I wasn't going to take no for an answer. And I'm not the only one. There are plenty of women out there that have dreams. And your dream might be different than my dream, but they're all important. And one of the things that I really like to hold in my heart is if I have a desire and a dream to do something, there's a reason for it. And I wouldn't have that if it wasn't going to be available to me. So somewhere inside of me, there's a resource to get it done. It takes hard work sometimes, and sometimes it takes not listening to those little voices, not only the ones in our heads, but the ones outside of us that say, no, you can't do it for this reason or for that reason. It might not be because you're a woman. It may not be because it's just these jobs aren't for men. It may be because of they don't think you're built right, or you don't have what it takes, or your education is lacking. But all these things can be overcome. And I guess the point of these stories is I want people to be able to take away that you can do anything you want in life, and you can have anything you want in life. You just have to be willing to work for it. And you have to, like, I can't stress enough, you have to be willing to not take no for an answer. If you want it and it's important to you, of course, within reason, you know. But what is within reason? I could go on and on about that too, because everybody's got a different reason. We all have the voices in our heads. Are we going to listen to them, or are we going to step out? Be afraid. Sometimes it's scary to step out in some place where everybody says you shouldn't be or you shouldn't be doing. That can be frightening, but I believe that true bravery is not being afraid, but stepping out even when we are afraid. And this has gotten to be a little longer than what I wanted. I will be coming back and doing more readings like this. But for a moment, I'd like you to close your eyes and just imagine for a moment you doing that thing that you desire to do with all your heart. And just take 30 seconds and think about it and see it. See what it feels like. See the joy of you reaching that goal. And then take it and hold it in your heart, just like this. And when times get tough, remind yourself that you have a dream. You have the resources inside of you, and you can be and do anything you set your mind to. Thank you for listening to me. Bye-bye.